Hello, welcome to Telecom Weekly, your flagship program on telecom and ICT. Telecom Weekly aims to educate, inform and update you with the latest trends, issues, news and developments in the telecom and ICT sectors, particularly in Nigeria. The program is brought to you by the telecom regulator, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. I am your host, Oluwatobi Enito. Once again, welcome. Coming up in this episode, new Executive Vice Chairman of NCC conveys his strategic thrust as he meets with staff of the Commission. Emir of Gwandu urges consumers in Kebbi State to take advantage of the opportunity provided as the NCC holds Village Square Dialogue Sensitization Program. Telecom regulator warns telemarketers against illegal collection and use of subscriber phone numbers. Also, we have a special report on telecom consumers' shift from voice to data. This is our lineup for today. Please don't go away.
On NCC Telecom Weekly, we bring you innovations, trends, policies, and stakeholders redefining all sectors of our economy today. Here, you will see the actors, policymakers, and creativity that will shape your mind and businesses for growth in line with today's reality. Join us every Monday on NTA Network, 10 p.m. and every Friday on Radio Nigeria FRCN Network, 8 p.m. NCC, Connecting Nigeria.
It is no longer news that the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) has a new Executive Vice Chairman (CEO) in person of Dr. Aminu Maida. His first assignment as the EVC was a familiarization visit to the Commission, where he met with NCC top management and other categories of staff. During the meet and greet, Dr. Maida pledged to work in tandem with the strategies of the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, which is keen into President Tinubu's objective of a flourishing digital economy.
We need to become a model MDA by going more digital, and we will need to up our game as an institution because we owe it a duty to the man on the street to get top quality telecom experience. This is the summary of the remarks by Dr. Aminu Maida, the newly appointed Executive Vice Chairman and CEO of the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), that signposts his administration's strategic policy direction. This indication was given during Dr. Maida's familiarization meeting with the top management staff and other categories of the employees of NCC at the Commission's headquarters and the annex in Abuja, where he pledged to align with strategies recently outlined by Dr. Bosu Tijani, the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. The new NCC boss conveyed important aspects of his strategic vision to the Commission's workforce. He subsequently stressed on the enshrinement of a performance-driven culture and vigorous commitment as being key towards entrenching a digital economy.
For me, I'll start off with where we're going. But we also have to acknowledge where we have come from. We've moved forward, but we haven't moved forward as a whole. So, leading on to where we need to go. Now, I was privileged to actually work on some of the policies that were put out as part of the Policy Advisory Council for Mr. President when he assumed power early in the year. And what I liked about that activity was that it was clear that it was no longer business as usual. Everything was going to be clear and very, very specific. Mr. President had his very clear agenda from which everybody was going to derive from. And what I took away from that is jobs and enabling the digital economy. And we have all seen our Honorable Minister's strategic plan, and that same message was reflected. So where we are going, in a nutshell, is every single thing we do in this commission has to link into that strategic plan of Honorable Minister and to the plan of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
The NCC chief also pledged to work relentlessly towards achieving the Commission's 70% broadband target by 2025, as well as an enhanced development of telecoms infrastructure towards improving quality of experience among telecom subscribers.
We're training 3 million Nigerians in digital skills. And the second one, he has said about broadband penetration. He has given us very, very specific targets. I won't go into all of them, but you've all seen his the strategic plan which he released. So I think 70% broadband coverage by 2026, and to hit 80% of coverage, and I think about 95,000 kilometers of fiber. So those are very, very specific.
While giving the opening remarks, Engineer Bale Maska, Executive Commissioner Technical Services of the Commission, wished Dr. Maida a most rewarding tenure, further adding that the new NCC boss possesses the credentials to oversee the affairs of the Commission.
We've had the privilege, ECSM and myself, to have discussed with him a few days ago, and we came away with really, really positive impressions. And I want to urge all of us, we are the leaders of the Commission here, please unite the workforce behind this charming young leader we've got.
Barrister Adeleke Adeolu, Executive Commissioner Stakeholder Management NCC, used the occasion to express appreciation to Dr. Bosun Tijani, the new Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, for his clear-cut roadmap aimed at taking the country's telecom sector to the next level.
And I'd like to thank him also for setting out clearly his roadmap for taking this sector to the next level. He has published a policy paper named Accelerating Our Collective Prosperity Through Technical Efficiency. And I think our new EBC has set out how our operations as regulator is to keep and to be directed by that strategy.
The ECSM, who also extolled the contributions of the past leaderships of the Commission, applauded the newly appointed EVC for his clarity of purpose, which he says has set the tone for the ingenuity he's bringing on board to birth a re-engineering of the country's telecom space.
I'd like to thank the EVC CEO, Dr. Maida, for setting out with clarity in that very inspiring and motivational first inaugural speech to the senior management of the Commission.
The EVC's familiarization tour and maiden briefing with the NCC family was one that offered members of staff of the Commission an opportunity to raise critical questions that border mainly on how best to chart the course of an improved telecom sector in Nigeria.
As part of its mandate to protect, inform and educate telecom subscribers, the telecom regulator was at the Land of Equity Benin Kebbi State on a sensitization drive tagged Telecom Consumer Conversation Village Square Dialogue. The event also afforded telecom consumers and the state the opportunity to speak out on various issues of concern.
The need for telecom subscribers to be conversant with their rights in the event of unfair practices by service providers was the main focus of the sensitization program organized by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, in Kebbi State Capital, Benin Kebbi. Speaking at the sensitization program tagged Telecom Consumer Conversation Village Square Dialogue, the Director, Consumer Affairs Bureau, NCC Al-Qasim Abubakar Umar, said the Commission was in the state to educate, inform and protect the rights of telecom subscribers. Al-Qasim, who spoke in Hausa language, added that the program is an intentional consumer protection initiative geared towards sensitizing subscribers on their rights in the telecom industry.
Protect, inform and educate consumer. Mu tsare muku yancin kuma mu wayar muku da kai kuma mu kawo muku har abin da mu kawo muku information wanda zai amfane ku.
The Consumer Affairs Bureau Director further educated participants on the dangers of buying or selling pre-registered SIM cards, which he describes as a criminal offense that attracts jail term for anyone caught in the act. Adding his voice to the subject was His Royal Highness Alhaji Dr. Mohammed Ilyasu Bashir, the Emir of Gwando, who stressed the importance of GSM in the modern day. Represented by Alhaji Ibrahim Bashir, who spoke in Hausa language, the royal father urged consumers to take seriously the information they received from NCC at the program to enable them fight for their rights from mobile network providers whenever such is trampled upon. The The NCC 622 toll-free line for reporting unresolved consumer complaints and the 2442 code for deactivating unsolicited SMS were part of the information provided to participants at the gathering. Among the issues of concern raised by telecom consumers at the sensitization program was that of incessant depletion of airtime and data, which the representatives of the service providers present promised to look into with a view to addressing them.
We as Telecom were very ready and poised to do this. That is why our team said, listen to imagine. You can imagine anything and it can be done by Telecom. But we also urge you to cooperate with NCC so that we don't have issues of pre-registered SIMs or other issues.
I want to use this opportunity to thank NCC for organizing this event. We thank you for your support and permit me also to welcome our eminent personality and to our esteemed customers in Kebbi State. I want you to know that Nine Mobile is committed in giving you better network, and in days ahead, I promise you are going to experience better network.
Besides the awareness creation mechanism, the interactive forum in Birni Kebbi was also aimed at interacting with the average telecom consumer towards addressing their challenges and grievances where necessary.
As the world continues to regulate data access through data protection laws and policies, Nigeria inclusive, a worrisome trend has cropped up in the country, which has made Nigerians the target of some unscrupulous individuals. In this special report, we shall be examining how the telecom regulator, the Nigerian Communications Commission, is making efforts towards tackling the unwholesome trend whereby telemarketers use illegally obtained personal information for dishonest activities.
In this special report, we shall be examining the upsurge in telemarketing using illegally obtained data, which has made it imperative for the sector regulator, the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), to issue a public notice warning those involved while creating awareness on these activities. Telemarketing is the direct marketing of goods and services to potential customers over the telephone, the internet, and other digital platforms. It is also called telesales. As obtained in the public notice, occasioned by myriads of complaints by consumers, the Commission has warned telemarketers that using people's phone numbers without the express permission of the subscribers constitutes a breach of privacy, while advising them to desist or face prosecution. The telecom regulator adds that the claim by telemarketers of having received the numbers from the NCC and the National Database of Registered SIM cards is false. The Commission maintains that it fully abides by the principles and rules guiding the protection of privacy as a right for all consumers and users of telecommunications services. The protection of the data of telecom subscribers by the Commission is guaranteed in Section 35 of the Consumer Code of Practice Regulations 2007, Section 9 of the Nigerian Communications Act 2003, Registration of Communications Subscribers Regulations 2022, and Section 4 of the NCC's Internet Code of Practice.
Malicious distribution of information by the data controllers, and that is why there is the new commission that have been put in place, the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. They need to do a lot of awareness, which they're already doing. They are doing awesomely well. In fact, they are training and certifying data controllers, the PCOs, and all of that. So there need to be more strict policies put in place to ensure that data controllers are adhering to the policies by the Commission. And that is where we also need to ensure that these policies created are enforced by all companies, all data collectors, controllers, and of course by data protection officers.
Telecom subscribers are further urged to activate the Do Not Disturb (DND) shortcode introduced by the NCC to manage the subscription to value-added services, with the option to stop unsolicited text messages and other telemarketing offers. This can be done by sending STOP to 2442 shortcode for full DND. In Nigeria, the breach of data privacy is more common among digital lenders, popularly known as loan apps, which by default have access to the contacts of all customers and use same to market their loans. However, the proliferation of these loan apps has led to the situation that made the Commission to issue the public notice in order to sensitize the sector.
First of all, it's important for all Nigerians to be aware that It's not every platform that requests for their personal data they will submit their data to. These days, you will see a lot of links purporting that the federal government is giving away 15,000 naira, fill in this form. The next thing, they are putting their name, their email, their date of birth. And a lot of times, they'll come back and be asking, how did these people get their contact details? Forgetting that they themselves filled it to this user. So it's important for all Nigerians to ensure that wherever they are submitting their data to, they should be sure that that body, the data collector, is a valid company. And the reason for collecting that data is valid. So you don't just drop your personal information, your phone number, email, date of birth for things you don't even know what they want to use it for.
Another data intrusion activity that is now commonplace in Nigeria is receiving calls from unknown people who usually pretend to be bank officials. Once the target's bank details are obtained, the person's bank account is emptied. Many unsuspecting Nigerians have fallen victim to this tele-scam. But the NCC, as the sector regulator, is not resting on its oars, as it has deployed resources within its powers to mitigate any activity that might endanger or infringe on the rights of telecom consumers in the country.
I have experience before, job opportunity. So I decided to send them some amount of money, like 2,000. One day I sent them 2,000. They said they will reply me back. Since then, they haven't replied me. That time I didn't have any money in my account, sir. I just go and borrow the money because the way they called me and told me about the job, I know that the job will enter. So I have to go and borrow the money and send to them. And then 1 week, they said they will inform me back. Since then, I did not hear anything from them again.
One of my friends fallen victim of to those people, whereby he was even borrowing me money to pay to those people. So at a point, I tell him that even though they put fear in him that if you don't pay, they will be sending name of, or they will be sending his name to his contacts that they should prevail on him to pay him. I said, don't pay.
When I called the number, I told him this is what I saw, that and online stuff, you can work from home and all that. And then they were like, okay, yeah. That this is actually a good, that there is a gig, you understand? That if I register with so amount, I'm going to be getting 50k every week. I say, along, nala. This one, I'm not into this one, because how will I be getting 50k every week? For how? Why? How am I going to do it?
The intrusive nature of telemarketing, as well as reports of scams and fraud perpetrated through this means, has spurred a growing backlash against this direct marketing practice. In June this year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed into law the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023. The act, which is the legal framework for the protection of personal information, among other things, provides for the promotion of data processing practices that safeguard the security of personal data and privacy of data of citizens. Although the telecom regulator has put measures in place to protect the digital space, it is equally wise for the consumer to be cautious while engaging with unknown persons, either via calls, messages, social media, or on the internet. Ask questions, take your time to decide, and don't let anyone pressurize you into giving out your personal details.
Information technology has become a major part of our lives as we now use digital devices and the internet for working, learning, sharing, buying and selling, as well as carrying out financial transactions. While it is convenient and free to connect using public Wi-Fi in public places such as hotels, airports, restaurants, schools, and more, there are security risks you should be aware of, such as a hacker can access everything you access or enter online, such as work emails, bank account information, personal information, login details, and more. To connect safely, please ensure the following. Always use strong passwords and turn on two-factor authentication when it's available. Do not carry out any financial transaction or any activity you consider sensitive on public Wi-Fi. Always make sure your apps, internet browsers, antivirus, and devices are updated. Be informed. Stop think before you click to connect. This message is sponsored by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. For further inquiries, contact NMIS at ncc.gov.ng.
The proliferation of over-the-top technologies has brought about a shift from communicating through the traditional voice services to data-enabled services. A number of reasons are responsible for this shift. Our next story gives insights into this transition and its effect on communication.
The shift from voice to data in telecom consumer behavior is a significant trend that has been occurring over the past decade. This shift is primarily driven by advancements in technology, changes in consumer preferences, and the increasing availability of high-speed mobile and broadband networks. Traditional voice calls have seen a decline in usage as consumers opt for alternative communication methods such as messaging apps, voice over internet protocol, and video calls. These alternatives often use data rather than voice minutes. With the proliferation of smartphones, consumers are increasingly using data-intensive applications and services such as social media, video streaming, online gaming, and cloud-based applications. Younger generations in particular are more inclined to text and use database applications for communication. They prefer the flexibility and multimedia capabilities offered by data over traditional voice calls. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of remote work and online learning, increasing the demand for reliable data connections for video conferencing, virtual classes, and remote collaboration.
It has been a very impactful shift. Major ISPs, major service providers have moved from voice data. Users as well have moved from using voice generally to data, because generally speaking, more is available when you use data. There's data. Voice generally offers only just calls and a very streamlined set of options. However, on data, you can achieve much more. Say, for instance, you can watch more movies. It seems like the old is fading away and then the new is coming, and the new is data. Data has come to stay.
Telecom companies have invested in upgrading their networks to accommodate the growing demand for data. 5G technology is a prime example of this, offering faster and more robust data connectivity. These providers also offer competitive data plans and pricing to attract and retain customers. Data has become more affordable, making it an attractive option for consumers.
We've noticed that you can find better quality depending on the ISP and the internet service you're using, more than the voice side, which sometimes you experience certain things like you're going to voicemails and then getting to another person instead of your original line. So these have been common challenges that people have faced using the voice, and that's why they've preferred the data. Aside from the multiple usage and all of that, another thing again is like security. You can check on your WhatsApp. Most of your calls are encrypted from end to end, which has been a better feature than the regular voice.
But just how important is data to people in their everyday life? Here, some Nigerians speak on why they would prefer to have data bundles than making regular voice calls.
With data call, you can actually reach out to friends, family, and colleagues beyond your locality. And it's quite cheaper compared to the normal data call tariff that they actually charge like 30 naira per minute or thereabouts. So I think data is far preferable than normal.
Unless your network is not good for me, maybe your environment, you don't have enough network, or maybe your phone has network issues. So WhatsApp call will be a bad experience for you. But once you have good network, everything is okay, and your end user also has a good network, I'll say it's a very good experience.
A global phenomenon, the shift from voice to data in telecom consumer behavior is a result of evolving technology, changing preferences, and the increasing availability of data-intensive services. Telecom companies and related industries must adapt to this shift to remain competitive, while increasing investment in network infrastructure to handle growing data traffic and meeting consumer demands.
Well, this is the much we can take on this week's episode of Telecom Weekly. But before we go, don't forget you can always be a part of this program by joining us via our multiple social media platforms. For inquiries on this program, you can send a mail to telecomweekly@ncc.gov.ng. For further details on the activities of the Commission, visit our website www.ncc.gov.ng. Telecom Weekly is brought to you by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Until we come your way again next week, remember, take advantage of us so no one takes advantage of you. I am Oluwatobi Enito saying bye for now.